Hello, here we go with the next episode of Rubber Chickens. I'm gonna call this Super Chicken, because it's chickeny and it's super, and I'm gonna do a Super Chicken power up at some point. Let's call this. Ooh, what if it was Super Chicken? We gotta put some soup in there. Okay, anyway. Um, I thought that it would be awesome and cool and fun if we could control the bounce of the ball. And I wrote that into my brick breaker game previously. So this is going to be a copy and paste job, and then from that program, and then a little bit of switcheroo with the code, change a couple things, and we'll be able to control the bounce instead of just having the X velocity be set to a random number. I don't know what we have it at this point. Is it like between -10 and 10? That would be if ball dot is touching player here. This is the bouncing off the paddle. Yeah, we have it set to a random X velocity between -10 and 10. And, I got the idea from way back in the day. There was a Atari game called Breakout. Is a brick breaker game. Wow. That takes me back to like 1982, maybe. And if I'm remembering clearly, how many years ago was that? If I'm remembering clearly from 42 years ago, when the ball would hit the paddle, you could control where it bounced, because the farther it was to the left on the paddle, the more leftward it would go. And if you hit dead center, it would go straight up. And then as you move towards the right side, it would bounce to the right. And that adds some skill, right? It adds some skill to the game to be able to control the ball, to hit the brick or to hit the coin that you're aiming at. That is going to add a big bonus to the game. That's going to add a big step forward in fun and playability. So let's do that. I'm going to go back to Brick Breaker because that game was somewhat finished, but it wasn't leveled. I'm going to level that. I had added power-ups like multi-ball and speeding up the ball and so on. I'm going to go back to that. Okay, here it is, by the way. I was going with kind of a city theme. The background music is like a city sidewalk. And I had a shopping cart down here as the paddle, but I got rid of that. Whoops. I was learning to do particle effects with this game. There's the multi-ball. Multi-ball is hard to program. I was learning to do particle effects, like when the bricks break, those like 10 or so chunks, just a little particle explosion. Super light. Well, I like that effect, except it disappears if you hit multiple bricks, right? It's only on the most recently hit brick there. So it would probably be good to have more brick fragments. So that's... You can also go off the page here. So I'm not using edge sprites. Or I am, but I'm only using... I haven't put the collision command in with the player paddle and the edge sprites. That needs to be fixed. But you'll notice that if the thing would bounce down, that depending on where it hits the depending on where it hits the paddle. Okay, that's a bug. Okay, this game has issues. If I hit on the left side, it goes left. If I hit it on the middle, it stays toward the middle. Right side, it bounces right. Left side bounces left. Right, so you can control where the ball goes. And we're gonna steal that code from this and work it into Super Rubber Chicken. So let's do that. The function that does that. So what we do is we calculate a bounce direction. that we assign to the ball. To calculate the bounce direction, we need to know where the player paddle is, and we need to know where the ball is. And if you subtract their X positions, then you can figure out how far away from the center of the paddle is the ball. And we have a variable for that, and we call it, I think I called it some sort of offset. Here it is. Yeah, it's the slider ball offset. So I'm calling the player paddle the slider. I don't know why, but that's what I called it. So up here in this calculate bounce direction function, and I have passed in an argument here, which is which ball. So, and we don't have multiple balls. When I wrote this, I had the multi-ball function. So the computer had to know, well, which ball am I calculating the bounce direction for? That's why that's there. So that argument will be ball 1 for us for the time being. But anyway, when it goes into this function, it calculates a slider ball offset, which, like I said, is the difference in the player's X position and the ball's X position, right? If the player and the ball are at the same X, that will be 0, right? And as the difference increases, that number will increase. So, and if the ball is to the right of the player, and we do ball X minus player X, then the ball's X is larger than the player's, and you're going to get a positive number. And if the ball's to the left of the player, then ball X minus player X, ball X is smaller than the player, so ball X minus player X will be negative. So we get a distance away that is useful then, because then we have a whole bunch of else if statements that looks at where that it looks at that distance. Like if that offset, the distance between the player and the ball's X positions, is greater than or equal to -10 and less than 0, then we send it in this direction. If it's greater than or equal to -20 and it's less than -10, then we send it in this direction. And we don't need to worry about all of the logic here. It works. I figured all that out when I wrote this game. It's a long function. And then down here, I just do a little rigmarole with the rotation direction. So if it bounces off the left side of the paddle, it's going to rotate anti-clockwise. And if it bounces off the right side of the paddle, it's going to rotate clockwise, because I thought that looked like sort of how the physics would work out. We don't need to worry about that. We're going to just pirate this. We're just going to take it. Command C, and we're going to go over to rubber chickens. And I'm just going to paste this way at the bottom. Command V, and there it is. And I get a gazillion warnings because a lot of these are duplicate warnings, right? Bounce direction hasn't been declared, and slider ball offset hasn't been declared. Bounce direction hasn't been declared, slider offset hasn't been declared. So we're going to go up here and we're going to take care of our variables. Var bounce direction, we'll just set it to 0 for now, and slider ball offset, set it to 0 for starters. And that got rid of nearly all of those warnings. This one is, okay, so again, I had 3 balls in that game. We only have 1 so far, so we're going to get rid of all of this code here, so we just have an if which ball equals, and I was using a beach ball. We're not using a beach ball, we're using ball 1. So every time you see beach ball, it should be ball 1. This should be ball 1. And finally, and that took care of all the errors, except for it's saying, hey, you made this function, but you're not even using it. So we have to put that up into the draw loop. No, it's not going to go in the draw loop. It's going to go in this if statement here. This is inside of update ball, and this is the code that handles the collision between the ball and the player paddle. Okay, so when they collide, we have to calculate the bounce direction. So we're going to use that function, calculate bounce direction. And we should probably go back to, because we're going to have to feed this into a variable the way that this is written. Let's go back to Brick Breaker and look at how we used it up above here. So that is in this update collisions function, and it's right here. It's this if statement. If the beach ball.collide player, we calculate the bounce direction, we play a sound, and then we set the speed and direction to some speed and some direction that we calculated. So we need this piece right here. And actually, it's really just these three lines. Command C, back to rubber chickens, and I'm actually going to paste it over what I just wrote. There we go. So we calculate the bounce direction, not of the beach ball, but of ball one. We already play a sound, so I'm going to delete that line. And then we set the speed and direction of not beach ball, but ball one. Ball speed, I'm going to deal with in a second. Bounce direction is what we calculated here. So this should be bounce direction equals calculate bounce direction of ball one. And then we can get rid of our old velocity X command, and let's just leave the rotation the way it is for now. Actually, let's take that out because we handle that in the calculate bounce direction function now. So ball speed is something we need to deal with. We need to declare that up here, and that's good that we're gonna just set this to 0. It's good that we now are going to use ball speed for the ball speed, because then we can change the speed of the ball, like in response to things like a power up. The ball speed is set to -20 right now. Where is that? That is right here. Ball one dot velocity y equals -20. So this should not be -20 now. This should be ball speed. And we shouldn't have it 0 up here. We should set it to -20. I think that's it. I think. Let's see if that works. And it sure does, because I'm not touching my keyboard right now. And the ball is falling dead center, right? And it's bouncing straight up. And it will do this forever until we move the paddle, which is awesome. So it appears to be working now. If I move slightly left and the chicken hits the right side of the paddle, it should bounce to the right and vice versa. Not working. Okay. We have a bug. It's not moving in a different direction. Okay, we can fix that. So let's see. You know, looking at this, we declared bounce direction as a global variable, and this doesn't return a value. So I think that our mistake actually is right here. I think that we can delete this and just say calculate the bounce direction of ball one, and it will put it in here. Let's try that. There it is. Appears to be backwards. Wait, if I bounce off the left, it should go left. And it's going right. And if I bounce off right, it should go right, and it's going left. It appears to be backwards. So I was looking at the way I did this earlier today, and one thing that was different was I didn't have this if statement here, because we only have one ball, so we don't even need it. We could just say always calculate the slider ball offset. I don't think that's the bug, but let's just make sure. Yeah, that's not the bug. I'm tempted just to switch player and ball, but I don't think that's the best solution. Okay, I think I found it. So I changed line 171, this line. If ball one dot is touching player, I change this to ball one dot collide. And that's sort of one of the nuances of GameLab are these collision functions. They behave slightly differently. Let's see if that fixed the problem. Okay, if I hit the right of center, it should go right. Nope, still going left. Man. Okay, I think I got it. Maybe. It's because we have set our ball speed to a negative number, and the way the set speed and direction function is it needs a positive number, I think. Yeah, that's... I think we're getting closer. Okay, I think I got it. It's because we don't want to set ball one dot velocity y to ball speed. That is the mistake. That line should not be there. Nice. And it's working. I think that that's a bug. That's a bug. I think that the last thing I did was I dialed gravity down from 1 to 0.8, and it bounces a little higher. You have a little more time to react because it's a little harder because you get a lower bounce if you bounce off the edge of the paddle like that. You get a really low bounce, so you need a little less gravity to make it just to make it feel right, to make it playable. But that's it. Nice. We can now aim the chicken at the coins. Makes the game a little more interactive, a little more fun. And I'm going to cut it off here because I got a class coming in. And we'll have to wait until the next update to do the background because this white background's got to go. It's just not pleasing to the eye. Thanks for watching. Have fun with this one, and we will see you in the next episode of Super Chicken.